We're at State Road 16 at Masters. The whole thing is flooded out, and cars are over here parked because, look, over here, this truck did not stop, and so we tried to go through it, and we just watched him go through the intersection and around, and he is stuck over here. This other gentleman has come out to greet him, but he's stuck. I mean, this is so bad. And the thing is, you can't see it when you're approaching, because on this part of the way, of the roadway, you miss it because it's all the same color of the road. But then it starts right when you get down there to Masters. All of a sudden, boom, you're down in it. So this car is pulled over. We've seen probably about 3 or 4 other vehicles almost get stuck. So I can't even estimate how deep that water is. I mean, it's probably at least a foot, if not more. And this is, yeah, right. I mean, this sign has been blown out over here to the left at State Road 16 and Masters. We see flooding over here off the side of the road. If you can zoom in and see that. That it's just, making itself its own little retention pond there. I can't even say how far we are from downtown St. Augustine. My photographer, Joe, might have a better idea than me, but I don't have an exact 2 miles. Wow. Okay. So we're 2 miles from downtown St. Augustine. We were trying to go back to see how far we could get to bring everyone at home an update. Guys, 2 miles from downtown. And look at that. We got caught in that. We are watching folks get caught in that. Oh my gosh, Joe, take a look. That truck is pulling around. He's trying to move, guys. Look at this. Oh my goodness. What is he doing? Tom and Mary, this is so hard to watch. Hopefully he's going to make it out of there. But this is why people do not need to be out driving right now. I mean, this scared me. When we came up on it, we didn't see it. We just didn't see it, and it just flooded so quick.
You asked, and the I-Team is getting answers in 2 investigations, which are taking us this evening to the nation's capital and also back to Northwest Jacksonville.
Today, a city councilman led a tour of Washington Heights. Tarek has that story in just a moment, but first, Mayor Curry went to the top at Federal HUD to get answers about 2 taxpayer-subsidized communities here in Jacksonville. I-Team investigator Lynnsey Gardner traveled to Washington with the mayor and is joining us live. Lynnsey.
Mary, it's been a busy day for Mayor Lenny Curry and Councilman Garrett Dennis here in Washington, D.C. They met with Senator Marco Rubio here inside the Senate office building on Capitol Hill. That was after a 2-hour meeting earlier in the day with more than a dozen HUD officials. Mayor Curry told me it was about following through on his promise to get answers at the very top, and the I-Team was there for every step. A dreary day in Washington, D.C., but Mayor Lenny Curry and Councilman Garrett Dennis made sure deplorable housing conditions in Jacksonville, first exposed by the I-Team, were center stage. First up, a closed-door 2-hour meeting at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, where they met with more than a dozen HUD staffers, including later Secretary Julian Castro.
We're here talking about capital investment and assets and property. This is a statement that this councilman started, that I've joined him in this cause, that we care about all of the people of Jacksonville. Everybody deserves a chance, and nobody should be left behind. I mean, that sounds like a perfect world that we're striving for, but that's really what this fight is about.
Mayor Curry says he is confident real changes are coming. Even referencing an I-Team story from yesterday was discussed by top HUD officials.
In fact, I think that you last night had a story specifically pointed out mold, and I have assurance that work was supposed to have been done and someone is supposed to be on the ground there today.
We're told both sides were in agreement on a big issue. Global Ministries Foundation needs to leave Jacksonville.
And I'm even more convinced today that we need a new owner at Eureka Gardens, at Washington Heights, and the whole portfolio. We need a new owner in Jacksonville, and we made it clear to the secretary today is that the city wants to be and will be at the table with the new owner.
The I-Team also asked HUD about its failed inspection process exposed at Eureka Gardens.
Is your department looking to make any changes in its inspection process?
Well, we already taken a look at some of the things that we can do to improve our processes, and that's an ongoing process.
Can you give any examples?
Well, at this point, I would rather not, because it hasn't been finalized.
The mayor and Councilman Dennis then Ubered to Capitol Hill to meet with Senator Rubio, who was also pushing HUD for changes.
You've called for changes at the federal level with HUD. How much of that is due to what we exposed at Eureka Gardens?
I think it's almost exclusively due to that at that point. It wouldn't have happened without it. The bottom line is this, that HUD has an inspection process that they follow to inspect whether a facility is safe. This facility, Eureka Gardens, passed the inspection. Not once, but twice, repeatedly passed this inspection. And anyone who visits there and looks at it knows immediately that is not a place where people should be living. And so the fact that it passed their inspection not once but twice tells you there need to be significant reforms in the way HUD carries out these inspections.
HUD told me they couldn't give specific examples of those possible changes because it would have to be written into contracts, and those contracts would impact property owners all across the country. One source told me, though, it could include surprise inspections. So currently, HUD lets property owners know in advance of an inspection. But again, that could be changing. We're also told by sources that HUD will meet imminently with Reverend Richard Hamlet to talk with him about that meeting today with Jacksonville city leaders here in Washington, D.C., and the I-Team will continue to follow every development. Live from Capitol Hill tonight, I'm Lynnsey Gardner, Channel 4, the local station.
Thank you. We wish you the best. Congratulations.
Judge David Gooding's name in Jacksonville is synonymous with adoptions, famously cutting down barriers to unite more children in need with families that want them.
I think the work with adoption has been the most significant work I've done because we've changed the future for everybody.
Gooding will ultimately decide the future for Liberty Bell Phillips. Her custody case has been in his court for nearly a year after she was taken from her drug-addicted mother and abusive father. Months ago, we uncovered Judge Gooding signed this new order transferring custody of Liberty to Christopher and Shauna Hornback. Chris is Liberty's paternal uncle, and on the very day Judge Gooding granted the Hornbacks custody, Christopher had an outstanding active warrant for his arrest in Duval County tied to domestic violence on his wife Shauna. She previously told police Chris had a history of domestic violence and was increasingly violent with her. What's more, the I-Team also found Chris Hornback was also accused of threatening an ex-girlfriend while armed with a razor. And we found Liberty's abusive biological father, Bradley Hornback, a convicted felon, had access to Liberty after she was moved to his brother's family. Despite Liberty's court-appointed protector, the guardian ad litem, finding Bradley Hornback posed great mental, physical, and emotional harm to Liberty. Confidentiality rules prohibit Judge Gooding from speaking to me about Liberty's case specifically, but he could answer broader child custody questions.
How important is it for you to place children in good, healthy homes?
That's the number one responsibility of our entire system. Of course, we rely on the evidence that's presented in court, and I do the best I can to follow the law.
We still don't know if any of the public information the I-Team uncovered on the Hornbacks was ever presented to Judge Gooding, but our sources say it was not. And that is something State Senator Aaron Bean tells me must change.
And I think your story on Baby Liberty has shed light on judges are only as good as the information presented. So let's give our judges the maximum information.
It is a change the head of Florida's Guardian Ad Litem program, Alan Abramowitz, says he's also in favor of.
It's very important we look at the totality of the circumstances because the decision that's made, whether adoption occurs or not, it will impact that child for the rest of their life.
Under the law, Abramowitz is also unable to speak specifically about Liberty's case, but he could talk about the process generally.
I would say that the first placement is very important because once you get that bonding, it sometimes becomes difficult.
That's the puzzling thing about Liberty's case. Liberty was first placed with her maternal aunt and uncle, Ginger and Keenan Phillips. She lived there for 10 months, and Liberty's guardian ad litem recommended the couple be allowed to adopt her, as they had a loving and parental-like relationship, and Liberty was thriving in their care. The day after she was taken away, Liberty screamed and her Aunt Ginger collapsed. They have not stopped fighting to get Liberty back. Their fight led them to the I-Team, and what we uncovered is, under current law, only felony convictions disqualify people from adopting in Florida, not misdemeanors. Although Chris Hornback has been arrested at one point on a felony charge. It was later reduced to a misdemeanor, something Abramowitz would also like to see change to help all of Florida's children.
So it shouldn't just be what you may or may not have been convicted of, but it should be the facts associated with it, because the facts are what happened.